we go again. Another morning, bed's made. Ugh, I'm tired. Yesterday was a very challenging day. And I say challenging because I don't want to use the term bad because it's what you make it. It's all about your mindset. Yesterday, I woke up and the refrigerator was making this loud cranking noise. I opened up the freezer and everything was thawed and melted. The ice tray was water. And then I had issues with technology and getting things to work correctly. I had videos posted with text on it, and the text went away. There was typos. Almost anything and everything that could have been gone wrong did. And it was challenging. It was challenging because it tested my patience. These things were simple fixes. I had an issue with tech support. They got my email address wrong. They got my name wrong, and it caused a ton of issues. I tried opening an account with Vargaro, and due to that, there was, after I spoke with tech support, there was now multiple accounts. You know, but I say challenging not because I want to focus on the negative, but because I want to focus on leveling up. Right? You go through an adventure game. You don't advance until you overcome that obstacle. And that's just how it is. Life works the same way. You don't advance until you overcome that obstacle. So yesterday was challenging. But I have overcome that obstacle. Every one of them. And I'm actually really excited about Vivaro because now we can get a membership built for our studio. We can, hell, we can bring our RTIS classes online and sell tickets that way, which is great because I was doing live TikTok workouts. YouTube workouts every Sunday to help people out and get people started. Now that I got that in the studio, and then I made the men's peer support group part of it. I got it tied on to Instagram, so now people can book classes directly from Instagram, which is fantastic. Coach Mariella and I are both on there. And they offer mental health services too. So when Teresa decides to go out on her own, yeah, so this is good. I'm actually really excited. I got a video posted with one of my clients yesterday. She was great. She's absolutely great. So her and friends signed up, and I built her a couple of workouts to do at home on her own. And she tried them, and our following meeting, she comes in and says, yeah, they were boring. I'm like, that's fantastic. Because when we're first starting out, we don't know each other very well. I don't know what you're capable of. And if you don't tell me honest to God feedback like that, I can't challenge you. I can't. First off, she's doing workouts at home, right? And the app I have is great because you can rate the workout when you're done. And I like people having access to that. But I would much rather have them come train with me 2 or 3 times a week than have them out on their own because they just can't seem to get that intensity. The point being, she was bored. I'm like, okay, no problem. She hasn't been bored since. But that feedback again is fantastic. Yes, it has a negative connotation to it. It was boring. Okay, that's fine, right? It means it didn't challenge her. It means that she's capable of more, which is really exciting. And that's the thing about mindset, right? It's about shifting how we see these things, relearning that. And that is one of the most challenging things I have done. I still struggle with it, right? There are still days where I just default to the negative and I get angry with people. Grocery shopping, for example. I get angry because of the appearance of people being inconsiderate, right? And this is something my dad instilled in me, you know. And the reality is, they're clueless. They're absolutely clueless. They're not there to be inconsiderate. They're not there to be rude, right? They're there for a purpose, for a reason. And that's what their mind is on. Okay. I get the same way with driving. Like, what is this guy thinking? What is it? The hell? Right? But there was this TikTok I saw. He said, try to think on the bright side of things. For example, you get cut off in traffic, right? People are like, what the fuck? This is bullshit. What an asshole. Maybe he had to poo, right? Who knows? Who cares? And that's one of those things I've been struggling with was proper mindset and shaping the way I think things. If, for example, if back in the day she came into me and said I was bored with the workouts, I would have been offended. Why are you bored with the workouts? What's wrong with the workout? It has nothing to do with the workout. The workout's pretty solid, right? It's just not at her level. Plain and simple. You know, some people would find that workout challenging. Other people wouldn't. The thing is fitness isn't a one size fits all, and it doesn't matter. The workout doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. What matters is the client, her needs, her goals. That's it. Teresa has the same issue. She she's a problem solver, and she's always trying to solve somebody else's problem except her own. She needs to learn to allow people to solve their own problems, right? You're not going to be great at what you do if you solve everybody's problems for them. Me, same thing. Personal trainer. It's not my job to solve your problems. It is my job to advocate for you, hold you accountable, increase the intensity so you work through your own problems. I give you advice on what exercise to do. I guide the form. She needs to do the same thing with her kids, but it's difficult. They are capable of incredible things. They just choose to weaponize incompetence because it's so much easier to get somebody to do things for you. Right? And I'm struggling with this. And I've struggled with watching her manage her kids because they are 21 years old, 19 years old, and they are living at home taking advantage. Wouldn't you, if you were back at home with your parents? I mean, sure, you'd probably help with the dishes and the trash and stuff like that, but point being, they'd be taking advantage. They don't do that. They don't help with the dishes or the trash. Not like they should. You know, their son is notoriously taking advantage, but I keep trying to encourage her to hold them accountable and shift her mindset when it comes to these kids, because if you can shift it to a more appropriate point of view, then you can actually do what's required of you. My job, for example, if I would have been offended by that feedback I got from my client, it would have interfered with how I proceeded, and I may have lost a client. Because if I continued with that, well, there's nothing wrong with the workout, it must be you mentality, right? Then she wouldn't be paying me, she wouldn't be working with me, right? That's that. She told me that because she wanted to be challenged. She wanted growth, she wanted progress. And again, you can't advance until you overcome that obstacle. With Teresa, she needs to let go. She needs to let go of her expectations with her children. She needs to let go of the fact that she needs to let go of the idea that she can solve their problems. She needs to understand that solving their problems is doing them a disservice. Abigail called yesterday, "Where's the remote?" And multiple text messages. And Teresa ended up getting frustrated because whatever. I told her, there's a simple solution to all this. She can figure it out. The refrigerator died and she had to replace it. You think anybody would help unload the refrigerator and clean up the spot for it to? Nope, not one person. Thus, taking advantage, right? Here's a problem, and she fixed it, and nobody said thank you. Nobody helped out. At that point, you should stop solving everybody else's problems. Let them figure it out. You can support them, right? But you got to have that mindset, right? If I do this for them, what are they learning? There are three ways people learn. There's the kinesthetic, there's auditory and visual, right? Hands-on, seeing it and hearing it. Experience is one of the greatest teachers. And when you're in it, when you're experiencing it, you're going through it. You're seeing it, you're hearing it, you get your hands in on it. And it sucks that struggle is what produces the growth. That challenge produces growth. It sucks to a point because nobody wants to be challenged 24/7. Nobody wants to be challenged 24/7. You don't go home and say, "Oh man, I can't wait to be challenged today." I didn't wake up yesterday and say, what are the challenges today? I woke up yesterday and said, oh, here we go. Let's see what we can do. You know? But it's okay. Because not everybody's going to wake up in the same way. I wake up with the same routine every single morning, but my mindset isn't always the greatest. I wake up and make my bed. Because if everything else goes to shit, at least I got a clean bed to make or to come home to. And then I try affirmation, visualization, exercise. I try reading, and I was scripting, but now I'm doing the vlog instead, which I kind of like. We got to have the right mindset, and switching it from that negative victim mentality to one of gratitude and understanding, or whatever, is challenging. It's challenging. It's easy to think negatively. It's easier to solve people's problems for them. But those negative thoughts, those solutions, they don't do anything productive. They make it harder. And you are going to circle back to the same problem time and time again until you break the wheel. And that's exactly what Teresa is doing. And I hate seeing that. Her and I were doing it for a long time in our relationship, right? I would become, my OCD would kick in, and I'd become angry because it was outside my control and I felt disrespected and taken advantage of. And I was. I'm not denying that. I was. Um, and then I would get frustrated and communicate that with her, and she would try to solve the problem. And all I wanted to do was communicate it with her. I don't want to solve it right now. I just want to communicate with you. She would just try to solve it. And then it escalated. And now that it escalated, I tried to take some space so I can clear my head. And she took that as a sign of abandonment. And one triggered another response. And it was just a series of bullshit, toxic behavior leading. Anyway, no more growth, no more nothing. And that pattern would repeat and repeat and repeat. And it repeated until the day we divorced. And even then, there was still a lot of outbursts. She said I was the worst thing to happen to her in her entire life. Good luck with my next victim, blah, 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 blah. You know, she was angry. She didn't know how to deal with it and put it anywhere. And all that jazz. But now we're in a position where we take space. Right? That pattern broke. It was a tragic closing, but the pattern broke. And it was nice because once that pattern broke, we have a way to rebuilding it. But the problem is relationships don't start over. They just unpause. We took some time to separate, and now we are building that future together, right? We are setting our non-negotiables. We are setting whatever. One of my non-negotiables is I don't want dishes in the sink overnight. I don't want that. And we compromised it already. But I talked about it. I said, I don't like the fact that we compromised on that. It's like, I get it. We were tired. We had one of those days. I understand that. I don't want to do that again. She's like, okay, no problem. And we haven't done that since. You know, the thing is, with your mindset, those thoughts, those demons, you inherited them from somewhere. Some of them just came from your parents. Others came from society, whatever. It doesn't matter where they came from. The problem is they are now your responsibility. And that's just a sad truth. You know, my dad was self-medicating, abusive, whatever, had some severe PTSD, and it spilled out all over the family. And it was his responsibility to deal with it, but he never did. And now I inherited those traits. I have OCD and anxiety myself because of issues growing up. Apparently, I have some codependency issues with women because of issues growing up with my mom. Who knew? And the thing is, mom and dad are not going to take them away. These are learned habits, learned patterns, things that I've developed to protect myself, to survive, to get to today. And now that I'm in the spot I am today, I got to deal with it. I have to deal with it. These are my burdens. It doesn't matter where they came from, they're mine. And that's one of the things I try to post about in my mental health aspects is you cannot outrun your anxiety. It's a part of you, like it or not. And everyone thinks of anxiety and depression in such a negative correlation, but I think of it as a tool, right? Think of it this way. You don't build a house with one tool, right? You need multiple tools. You need a hammer, right? You need a measuring tape. You need a circular saw. You need all these different things, the right tool for the job, right? If you're a social media influencer, you just don't take a video and post it. No, you have software editing, video editing software to create high impact visuals and the right tool for the job. So we have anxiety, we have depression, right? There's a purpose to it. The anxiety, it keeps us cautious. You know what I'm saying? If you start doing something and you feel anxious about it, there's a reason for it. Now, let's say you're going on stage, you're going to do a first comedy show, you're feeling anxious. Right? You're anxious because you don't want to perform poorly. You're going to get there in front of all these people and you're going to, right? So you're on edge. That anxiety isn't there to stop you. It's there to encourage proper performance, right? Other times, anxiety makes you cautious. Here you are approaching something, and you're like, well, I don't know how I feel about that, right? Because you're sensing if it's dangerous, if it's safe or not. And then the rush you get after the fact, that's the reward. Depression, well, I think Jim Carrey said it best. It is a state of deep rest. You're tired, you're depressed, you don't have the energy to get up and do things. Your body needs to rest. You're sad, right? Anger. Here's a common misunderstood emotion, anger. A lot of people look at it negatively, right? The reality is, it doesn't give you confidence, but it mimics confidence, right? For example, people don't typically, I wouldn't stand up for myself if I didn't have the anger to back it, right? Anger shows you where that boundary is. Anger is a side effect from OCD. It is also, what is the word? I can't think of it. Just drew a blank. But anger is a tool, right? You use it to help overcome things that you wouldn't really overcome. You know, for example, when I'm jump roping and I keep failing and failing and failing, I become a little angry with it. But that anger isn't a negative trait, right? It allows me to kind of hone in and focus a little bit more. It allows me to have a bit of a backbone, the queen energy, if you will, right? Like you know what you want and you're not afraid to get it. It sets that boundary, right? Anger is a response to an injustice, right? Somebody's treating you unjustly or disrespectfully, that's where your anger comes from. And that anger, it sort of feeds into this confidence to stand up for yourself, to put up that boundary. Anger bridges the gap between denial and acceptance. It's a powerful tool. But like all other tools, it needs to be used appropriately. Otherwise, it's going to cause more damage. If you're trying to cut a piece of lumber, you're not going to take a hammer to it, right? Beat the shit out of that thing, and it's not going to do any good. No, you need the right tool for the job. And you need to learn to put the goddamn tools away, right? Because that anger, left unchecked, turns to resentment, to rage. And like all tools and all other issues you have, it is your responsibility to use it accordingly. It is on you to decide how you react. And that's where the mindset comes into play. That's where it comes in clutch. Because if you have a negative mindset, then you're going to react negatively. If you have a positive mindset, then you're going to react positively. I had somebody cut me off the other day, and I could have reacted negatively, or I could have reacted positively. A negative response would have made things a lot worse. The positive response was, whatever. That cut me off. And maybe he's got to take a shit. Maybe he's rushing somewhere. He's clearly not paying attention to what he's doing, whatever. Doesn't matter. You know? With Teresa and her kids, there's not much I can do other than offer some support and advice. Encourage better behavior. Now, that's the thing is you can't force anybody to do anything they don't want to do. You can only encourage it. And sometimes it takes a lot of patience to encourage people to do the right thing. Change isn't going to happen overnight. It never does. Because sometimes the change is worth it. But we've got to have the right mindset. And we start with how we end the day. Right? If you can't end the day on a positive note, just end it on a neutral note. Okay? And then get some sleep, get some rest, and the way you start your next day, that's when you start reshaping your thoughts. I started with journaling. And I would do these exercises in the mornings because after you rest, your brain is more susceptible to make changes, to rewire the way you think. And there's other tools too, like EMDR, running, for example. It mimics the rhythmic pattern of EMDR. So I like to, when I do my cardio, that's when I practice visualization and words of affirmations because our thoughts do become reality. And we're going to have negative thoughts. There's nothing we can do about that. You're going to have negative thoughts. All you can do is control how you react to them. Journaling was a powerful tool for me to reshape my thoughts. And I would start off with simple things like, this is complete bullshit, to this isn't so bad, to this is challenging. And now it's challenging so I can learn to advance. Look at these guys.